Hello, this is Sanjeet, and in this video, I will discuss a question which almost always shows up or is asked right at the beginning of an agile coaching interview. So, see you in a few seconds. Hello again, and as I mentioned in the opening, in this video, I'll discuss a question which is pretty much the first question that is asked in an agile coaching interview. In fact, it could be the first question that is asked in any interview, regardless of the role. But since this channel and this playlist is focused on agile coaching interview questions, I will discuss this question in the context of an agile coaching interview. So, what is this question? The question can take could be worded or could be stated in one of these ways. So, the question could be, "Hey, could you tell us a little bit about yourself?" Or could you please, give us a brief overview of your background? Or it could be stated as, we'd love to know about your journey so far. Would you like to start us off by sharing a little bit about that? So the question could be in any of these forms or could be worded in these ways, but basically the question's intent is to, find out more about yourself, to introduce yourself. All right. Now, right off the bat, you may be thinking that, well, Sanjay, this question's, sounds so easy, and why do I need to listen to you or watch this video to learn or to know how to answer this question? Well, here's why. All right. So, yes, you're right. The question does sound, something to do with yourself, your background. It sounds very easy and very sort of, non-complex, right? And actually, the intent of this question is to allow the interviewee to become comfortable with the interview setting, right? That's the intent of the question, to let the interviewee sort of settle in, become at ease, and like I said, to become comfortable with the interview setting. So that is definitely the intent of the question. But here's why you should never take this question or answer this question casually. Okay? You, as an interviewee, should always use this question to set the right impression, to make the right impression on the interview panel. Right? That is a key thing that I want to mention as one of my first guidance on this question. So, absolutely, you're right. This sounds easy. It is an easy question. It's not asking any specifics. And again, the intent of the question is to make the interview comfortable and at ease. But if you answer this question casually, you are going to is going to be a missed opportunity to not be able to make the right impression or the correct impression on the interview panel. All right. So that's my number one tip. Regardless of the way the question is worded, and even though it sounds very easy, do not answer it casually. Okay. Now, why or how should you answer this question? Right? What is the right way to answer this question? Right? Let me discuss that now, and I'm going to introduce a topic. I'm going to introduce a topic that may seem not connected with the interview, but it is going to be very useful. Okay. Now, I'm sure you listen to songs, right? And I'm sure you listen to popular songs. Most or many popular songs have something called a hook. Now, what is a hook? A hook is basically something very catchy. It could be a catchy beat, a catchy tune, a catchy rhythm, or some catchy lyrics, right? This is basically the hook of a song, and the goal of a hook of a song is to grab the attention of the listeners, right? That is called the hook of a song, and it usually appears at the beginning of the song. And it is this concept that you should incorporate in the way you answer this question. Now, if some of you are sort of scratching your head, don't think I'm asking you, obviously, I'm not asking you to sing a song, right? That would be bizarre, right? What I'm asking you to do is use the concept of a song hook, incorporate that concept in the way you answer this question. Okay? So, what do I mean specifically by that? What I mean by that is start answering this question by describing your qualities and the accomplishments that differentiate you, or are the key differentiators for yourself. Okay? Start answering the question once again. Start answering the question by describing the qualities and the accomplishments that make you stand out, that make you better suited, if not the best candidate for this role. That's how you incorporate the concept of a hook of a song into answering this question. So structure your answer in a way, or say, start answering this question by talking about, once again, the qualities that you have as a agile coach and the accomplishments that you have done that align with those qualities, right? The goal is to answer this question with information that differentiates you for this role, that makes you stand out, that makes you the better candidate, if not the best candidate for this role. This is why I said what I said at the beginning of the video, is that do not answer this question casually. Use this question to make the right impression on the interview panel. And the way that I have always practiced myself is I use the concept of the song hook, meaning I start answering the question by immediately describing what makes me special or different, differentiates me, what makes me the best candidate for this role. Okay, so I hope that I have made this part very clear, and this is my first tip or first insight or guidance for how you should answer this question. Now, remember this part. Don't just describe the qualities. Okay, make sure it's your qualities as an agile coach and the accomplishment. So for example, don't just say, oh, I'm a really experienced agile coach, or I'm a really strong agile coach, and not provide any accomplishments or data to back it up. Or say, like, I'm a very effective agile coach, but not provide what makes you effective, right? Because anybody can say that they're experienced, or they're very effective, or they're very strong, right? Anybody can say that. But unless and until you back it up with some concrete accomplishments, people will not give you the credibility. They will not sort of buy what you're trying to sell. Okay, which is basically yourself as a candidate, right? So that's why I say structure the question, right? By right off the bat, as you start answering this question, include the qualities and the accomplishments that you've done that, again, differentiate you for this role, make you the right candidate, the better or the best candidate for this role, and basically let the interview panel know why you should be the overwhelming choice. Okay, so that's my very first sort of guidance or tip on how to answer this question. Now, let me go to the next tip, right? The next tip is, how long should the answer be, right? Now, in my opinion, having done, as I mentioned in the earlier video, 100 plus interviews, and also having interviewed candidates for open positions anywhere from 50 to 70, your answer should easily be within 3 to 4 minutes. Do not exceed 3 to 4 minutes, right? Let me impress upon you that 3 to 4 minutes is a fairly decent amount of time to structure your answer and to make the right impression. Okay, if you go beyond that, like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, I can assure you, based on what I've seen on both sides of the fence, it may not sit well with the interviewers. Okay, because they want to they're basically using this question to settle you and to make you feel at ease, right? Not to give you like a full 7, 8 minute window to just go on, just go on talking. So limit your duration to about 3 to 4 minutes. Again, is pretty significant amount of time to answer this question, right? Now, you're not as part of this question, you're not reciting or giving details on your entire resume, right? That's not what you should ever do, right? So that is why, as I said, 3 to 4 minutes is a really decent amount of time to basically use the song hook concept, describe your qualities and your accomplishments, and then open it up for questions. So that's the second tip, right? Limit your question to 3 to 4 minutes. That's enough. If you go way beyond that, most likely you'll get interjected. And if you get interjected, that means you've already sort of made some of the interview panel members impatient, right? They're there. So keep this thing in mind and limit it to that duration. The third tip that I have is, well, should I include information about my personal life? Well, absolutely, right? Remember, the question is very open-ended. It says, hey, tell me a little bit about yourself, or, can you give us a brief overview about your background, or, tell me about your journey so far. So absolutely, it is very humanizing to talk about your personal life, personal details. But here's my tip on that. As a thumb rule, dedicate 90% of the answer to this question towards your professional work, professional goals, professional qualities, and accomplishments. 90% of your answer to this question should be dedicated towards that, right? Remember, you're being interviewed for this position not because who you are in your personal life, right? You may be a great cook, or you may love running or jogging. That's not why you are going to be considered for this role. You're being considered for this role for your professional qualities and accomplishments. That is why, as a thumb rule, I have always recommended and followed myself when I've interviewed for different positions. I have dedicated 90% of my answer to this question towards my professional stuff, professional, what I've done, my qualities, accomplishments, etc. But 10% of the answer towards the end could be something a little bit about your personal life. So you could say that, if you're a single person, you can say, oh yeah, I'm single and I love to do, fly fishing, and I love, to go skiing, as an example. Or if you're married with kids, you can say, I have 2 kids, aged, whatever, 7 and 9, and boy, do they keep me on my toes. Something, it could be very general, it could be funny, up to you. But do not put more than 10%. Do not spend more than 10% of the duration of the question answer towards personal details. Because again, as I said, you're being considered for this role for the stuff you've done at work, not who you are as a person, although that is definitely important. That paints a more wholesome picture of yourself. So those are the 3 key guidances that I have for you, in order for you to know what is a good way, a strong way to answer this question. Right. Again, I followed these guidances, these tips, or these techniques myself when I've interviewed for various roles. And I've also looked for these things when I interviewed for open positions, when I've interviewed other candidates for open positions in the organization that I worked for. Right. Now, you obviously need to practice, right? You obviously need to practice this, so that it goes without saying, right? You have to look back into your resume. You have to look at stuff that you've done that differentiates you. You have to be able to state it succinctly so it fits between 3 to 4 minutes. That goes without saying, right? In order for you to be able to follow these tips and these guidances, my advice that I've given in this video, you will need to practice. Right now, before I end the video, let me just give you a couple of examples of what I would think as a good way, as a strong way to start answering this question. Right. So one good way would be saying that I'm a highly experienced Agile coach, and because I have done Agile transformation at so and so companies. Then you can list the companies you've done it as. Right. And I did it with. And these were the key accomplishments that I was able to do. I developed a whole set of training curriculum. I was able to coach the stakeholders as well as the team, whatever those accomplishments are. That could be one good way to say it. Another good way to open this question, to start answering this question, could be something like, I'm an Agile coach that not only understands the academic aspect, but more importantly, I'm very good in terms of the day-to-day aspects. So I can not only, teach the concepts of Agile very well, but I can also basically translate them, right? That could be another good way to answer this question. Now, please remember that do not just blindly copy these things. My intent of giving this example is just to help you connect the dots between the guidance, the tips that I gave you at the beginning of the video, and with a real answer, with a potential possible answer. That's the reason I'm giving you these examples, right? I'm not giving these examples with the intent that you copy it blindly, because if you do, you will not be convincing, right? So as I said, you have to dig into your past, your professional past, and determine, what is it that differentiates you as an Agile coach, right? And what are the accomplishments that can back those differentiators up, right? So that's what you have to do. The reason for me giving this example is not so that you just copy it, because again, it will not pass scrutiny, right? They will not know that these are not your genuine answers, right? So obviously be truthful. Do a little bit of practice and homework, and you will be able to incorporate the tips that I have shared in this video in order to come up with a strong answer to this very first question. Okay. So that's pretty much it. That's all I had on this in this question, and hopefully you've got some value. You found some of the insights helpful. And if you did, I would definitely appreciate if you can like and subscribe this video, guys. Everything helps. Every little bit helps. And also, I'd love to hear from you, right? If you agree, if you disagree, if you have a slightly divergent point of view, whatever the case may be, I respond to all my comments, and I love that discussion because it teaches me. So please do, send me a comment, or, start a discussion so we can participate, and, we can all learn from that. And finally, guys, I do have a bunch of courses on Udemy. I've put a link to all the courses. It's a single link in the description box. So hope you check that out in case you're looking for some Agile training. And that's it for this video. And thank you for watching. And I hope to catch you in the next one. Bye now.